But do you think you need energy to work out?
In general, I'd say yes. The question is, how much energy do you need to work out? So what I have noticed is more workout, even at the times when I feel really kind of incapable to just get to the gym and put significant effort, the better I become in the future. It sounds like a crazy advice, but sometimes you'll hear like, hey, if you don't really feel it, just stay home, like skip it.
Yeah.
It's kind of never an option for me,
You had this like analogy of a stretching a band. Explain that analogy.
So think about our energy resources as like a parking lot. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is create more parking spaces. The more parking spaces you have, more cars can you park. So this is the way I'm seeing it. Every time I'm at the gym, every time my day is just fuller and fuller and fuller, there's more parking spaces that I'm creating. Little by little, I'm building them out. Little by little, I'm figuring out how to be a little bit more efficient and how to thrive on that next thing that is coming.
This is why I'm a big fan of exhaustion and overtraining. Getting to a point where you're so tired that you still have to come back in. The only time that I believe you can increase that parking lot is when you get into those moments where you're like, I feel like I don't want to come in. It's at those moments, if you want to increase your energy stores, that's when you actually have to come in. Now, it doesn't mean you have to come in and set world records. You just have to come in. So the next question, do you have a framework to still get energy when you're burnt out?
I think burnout is more of a mental thing rather than physical. If you burn out, most likely you burn out from work. So guess what? You can still make it to the gym. Work really doesn't affect it. You can still go out and play with your kids.
And like there was a theory, it's like the Christmas morning. You see all your kids, they're staying up till like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then they wake up at like 5 a.m. full of energy, 2 or 3 hours of sleep. One of the biggest problems where people of those that are feeling burnt out is because they're waking up to something that they don't want to open. The gift. It could be in terms of your business, right? It could be in the terms of like parts of your work. You're like, maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Like I don't want to wake up answering emails. I don't want to wake up doing this, but I do want to wake up having one-on-one coaching sessions with my people. Being able to identify which parts of work are completely draining you is like the first step. Go to your calendar, just see everything that you're doing and then like color code it red. And then the things that are energizing you, color code it green, and then just observe that. I think 80% of your healing is just from that. And then the second step is like, how many of these greens can I do more of? And then how many of these reds can I do less of?
So let me ask you, I know your days are very active as well. You know, you kind of like thrive on almost like similar activities that I do. You get energized. Like, you ever get to that point? It's like, a lot of people kind of struggle in the middle of the day, especially when you like wake up early, like probably both of us are. What's your solution, or what's your recipe for getting through that midday stage and being still at almost 100% towards the end of the day?
Dude, so this is where it's interesting. If you are waiting to get energy to work out, you are going to be waiting forever. Today, I got one of my coaches with me, the Russian sensation, Igor. He's on the other side, but I'm excited because I never got you on here, primarily because you're just everywhere and anywhere. You're either working out, you're with your kids, you're traveling to like Dubai and like different places. And then I'll text you. I'm like, hey, Igor, are you going to be here on Friday to coach? And he was like, yeah, I'm flying over here right now and I'll be there. So I wanted to give you guys some context on who this guy is, and the topic around of what we're talking about is energy. And I think there's a lot of myths around it, and I really want to dive into that. So welcome, man. I'm excited to actually have you finally on here.
Well, thanks for a sweet introduction. I love the Russian sensation. I feel like I'm someone who's about to break like NHL record or something like that, So
with the Russians, I always have to have nicknames. I think Nick has a bunch of nicknames, so
I'll take that. I'll take that.
That first one.
But for those folks who don't know me, I'm originally from St. Petersburg in Russia. I moved here when I was 21 years old, so fresh out of college, and I built my career in spirits business. So, right now I run advocacy for tequila portfolio for the Bacardi USA. So, that's kind of what takes majority of my time. But and that's a very busy job. As you said, I do travel quite a bit. When I just started, it was about 7-8 years ago. I would be on the road like 5 days out of the week. Now I'm more like a couple days of the week, but I don't travel to Dubai. I wish I was.
I feel like you're everywhere though. You're definitely everywhere, and it fascinates me how you can travel these different time zones and then come to work for me part-time, right? And coach this amazing class and then work out and then go with your kids, right? I think there's a big concern a lot of times when people come in. It's like, I just don't have time. I don't have energy to work out. And I'm seeing people just like you. You're kind of on the extreme end, which is super exciting because I think there's something to be farmed around kind of how you're living your life.
I'll tell you that when I first started traveling a lot, and then I got first kid, and then I got second kid, and then I decided that I also want to become a coach on top of that, right?
Yeah.
Every single time I would ultimately try to expand the amount of things I can do through the day and to be able to achieve everything that I have lined up, with all the regular work, plus being a dad, plus being a husband, plus just being a head of the household and be a great coach at 5 a.m. in the morning. I had to understand, like, what does it take for me to, really have all that energy, almost never, I say, be in that situation when I, say to myself, damn, I just don't have juice to do this today, right? Somehow I figured out this pattern of things, or the way I'm looking at things, to be able to do all these things that I have lined up throughout the day with reasonable degree of effort, and almost never have any doubts in my head whether, I should be kind of staying home or, just relaxing instead of, like, let's say, taking my kids to the playground, or, go work out, or I don't know, be able to host some guests and show people a good time, or pick up some work in the middle of the night or something like that, if I have to. So that sort of concept of understanding how I'm able to form and what to do to form more of those energy cells, I think now lets me, like, thrive through this really busy environment of day-to-day life.
Yeah. So do you think you need energy to work out?
I think it depends, because in general, I'd say yes. Obviously, the workout consumes the energy, right? So I mean, the question is, how much energy do you need to work out?
Yeah.
I think if you have energy, you should work out, because ultimately what workout does, it stretches your ability to receive more energy in the future. So what I have noticed is more workout, even in the times when I feel really kind of incapable to just get to the gym and, put significant effort, the better I become in the future. It sounds like a crazy advice, but sometimes you'll hear, like, hey, if you don't really feel it, just stay home, like, skip it. It's kind of never an option for me. At least I'm going to get there, and at least I'm going to start moving. I'm going to loosen up, and the thing's going to happen. So I believe you'd rather go and achieve your, workout, and maybe you're not going to give it 100%, but, you're going to show your body an effort. You're going to show that at least that you are able mentally to just go and, kick it in the gym, and, next time you go there, it will feel a whole lot easier.
Yeah. You had this, like, analogy of a stretching a band. Explain that analogy you're talking about.
So think about our energy resources as like a parking lot, right? So ultimately, what you try to do is create more parking spaces, and more parking spaces you have, more cars can you park.
Yeah.
So this is the way I'm seeing it. Every time I'm at the gym, every time my day is just fuller and fuller and fuller, there's more parking spaces that I'm creating, right? Little by little, I'm building them out. Little by little, I'm figuring out how to be a little bit more efficient and how to thrive on that next thing that is coming. So obviously, when you wake up in the morning, all your cars are parked, right? Yeah. And little by little, those cars start leaving, and, like, you getting more free spaces and stuff like that. And then, there's no more free spaces at that point of time. And then, for the next day, you want to have that parking lot a little bit bigger, and you just do one more thing, and that's how you stretch it.
Yes. So this is why people freak out on me. This is why I'm a big fan of exhaustion and overtraining. Like, getting to a point where you're so tired that you still have to come back in. The only time that I believe you can increase that parking lot is when you get into those moments where you're like, I feel like I don't want to come in. And it's at those moments, if you want to increase your energy stores, that's when you actually have to come in. Now, it doesn't mean you have to come in and set world records. You just have to come in. And then you add like one other parking lot. You add a second parking lot and then a third parking lot. Now, let me ask you these questions. What does those parking lots mean? Does it mean energy stores, or does it also mean you've created like different tools in your life to be able to expand those energy stores? Or is it just body benefits?
I think it's sort of both. Obviously, there are tools. I mean, no doubt, like we need to sleep, we need to
Right.
eat. There's those foundational elements that almost like no matter what you do, if you don't do them right, right, there's no conversation. If you're just eating really poorly, if you're sleeping like 5 hours a day, day in and day out, you probably not won't be very good at expanding those energy cells that you have. It's just not going to happen, right? So you need to lay out that foundation first. So the foundational tools always going to be there, right? But then there's obviously little tricks and secrets, right? I give you an example. Being a parent of two kids, especially in their age, takes a lot of that energy, right?
For sure.
But how do I get energized from doing the things that they love? Is that answer is quite simple for me. Like I just try to align that activity, whatever they're doing, with something that I can be a part of. I can be active.
Yeah.
I don't just go to the park and sit down and like stare at my phone and
watching. And you know what most parents do is they answer their emails, which is just more stressful, right?
Exactly. Instead of that, hey, I tell them, if we go on biking, like I'm hopping on a bike, you guys on a bike, we're riding a bike, right?
Yes.
Or like they want to do something fun. They want to go to like this kind of kids bouncy type of things, right? Which is awesome. But hey, I'm going to go there. I'm going to pay for my own entrance. And I'm going to bounce with them until like there's no tomorrow, right? So this energizes them. It energizes me. We're having a good time.
Yes.
Right. I just took my kids to rock climbing gym.
Yeah.
They loved it. They looked at me. I looked at them. Are you guys having a good time? Yeah, we both have a good time. We're both super active. We both spend 2 hours being physically active, emotionally active. When we get out of the gym, what are we doing next? They're ready to go. They're ready for the next activity. You know?
Yeah. This is exactly what I did this past Sunday. I was like, Lucas, I need to go work out. I need to do my outside workout. I'm going to go play basketball. You want to come with me? And he was like, let me just put my shoes on. And then now you're blending in what you need and also what they need. And it becomes this like you can create an event in your life where that 1 hour is more exponential than 1 hour in the gym, right? Because now you're pairing in this relationship energy exchange, this energy exchange. You're also getting sunlight and you're also getting a workout in. And it's just like there's an asymmetrical benefit. It's not a linear one. So one of the things I think you do really, really well is take some of these daily events and you just make it better, right? I think some of the biggest mistakes parents make is they just do that event and it's neutral or draining. But I think the framework they should ask themselves is like, how can I make this enjoying for them, but also more enjoying for me? Now, let me ask you this. Because you're enjoying your time, how more likely is your kids enjoying their time?
Kids always ask one thing and one thing from parents, as I've noticed for now, well, besides obviously candy and other things like that. But what they're really asking from you, even though they're not vocally asking it, or they probably don't even realize, is that you to be involved. As any parents, after parenting for a little bit of time, it. That all they want is you to be involved. So as kids, especially in the young age, want to do physical things, right? They want to do their gymnastics. They want to do their soccers. They want to be outside. They want to be active. You have to be involved in that. If you're 50% involved, as I said, you're just kind of taking them to places, and then you're like, staring at social media and scrolling through. You kind of like, hate to say this word, it's like half-assing a little bit, right? So put a whole effort into that. Make it like almost like high intensity interval training type of model, right? When
Right.
you have that interval that you have this awesome activity with a kid, you going for it, right? And then
Hmm.
you're taking the rest.
Yeah. 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 I think that's the same thing too. When I'm in my joy state, and then he sees me in my joy state, he gets more excited. And he's so in tune that if I'm like stressed out, he'll like hug me a little bit, you know? So I think kids are really interesting. They can perceive that. And as I like pull back into my experiences, I just want my parents to be happy. You know what I mean? And then when they're happy, I'm like, let's go.
You know where my kids are constantly asking to come with me?
Where?
Guess where?
Where?
To the gym.
Oh, to the gym.
They
Oh, yeah,
just
because they know you're
always,
happy.
yeah, they always wanted to come with me to the gym, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes, I do take them and they like kind of play around, but hey, you know what I've noticed? They start picking up that jump rope in the gym,
Yeah.
they pick up other things. They kind of like seeing me, they trying it out. So not only I'm getting involved in what they do, they
Yeah.
also getting involved what I do,
Exactly.
because they
Yeah.
kind of look after, like when my daughter comes home and she's like, oh, I saw you kind of trying this, I saw you like standing against the wall doing like handstand push-ups. She doesn't know that that's
Yeah.
called that. She's like, can you kind of catch me? I'll try that. And I was like, yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
let's go.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't tell my son to go to the gym.
Mm.
They just want to go to the gym too. And I think your kids are doing the same thing. You're like, hey, you're going to the gym with me. But they want to come with you because you're excited about it.
Exactly. They see how much positive energy that is giving to you, and they just want to follow it.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to. They don't realize that that's really how we describe things in terms of like, I mean, I'm energized to get to the gym, and they're just excited to be there with you. But in reality, that's exactly what's happening with them as well.
And I don't know if this is one of your principles, but this is like my big principle as parenting. Like they catch more of what they're seeing than the words that you're saying out of your mouth. So it's really important for me to show up in a way where I want them to show up in that way in their future life, right? I'm actually very less vocal. My wife is more vocal than me, right? So, but then when I do say words to him, he's pretty all in. I've yelled at him like one time and he like just broke down in tears.
Oh no.
But it's I'm very action oriented with him, and it's been rewarding because I don't think I got that on my side of things when I was a kid.
So let me ask you, I know your days are like very active as well.
Yep.
You kind of like thrive on almost like similar activities that I do. You get energized. Like, you
Mhm.
ever get to that point? It's like, a lot of people kind of struggle in the middle of the day, especially when you like wake up early, like probably both of us are.
Mhm.
How did you, what's your solution, or what's your recipe for kind of getting through that midday stage and being still at almost 100% towards the end of the day?
Dude, so this is where it's interesting. I think this is where I struggle the most. Yesterday, I had an 8-hour break, which is like unheard of. Normally, I have like my 2 or 3 clients, have a little bit of break, do some content or something, work out again, have 2 or 3 more clients, rest a little bit, 2 or 3 more clients at the back end. That's like my normal day, right? And I had 8 hours to do nothing. And actually, this is where I need help. When you're speeding up so fast for the rest of your life, I don't know how to slow down. So, I don't know if I answer this question for you, but it's like I think it's just constantly being in flow, but not slowing down to a point where you're crashing, right? So, in the event that I had another 8-hour break, I think I would have put like another workout in, and like maybe finding a speed that's not 100, maybe at 60.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for instance, I had 3 clients, and then I just went to like mush. I think what I should have done was like work for 4 hours, do a little bit of maybe some content prep work, and then just turn off the phone, and then be completely present with recovery, and then get back to work again. Right?
So what are you saying is if your sort of gaps are too long and you haven't come up with a plan how to fill them up, and they're just kind of staying loose, which again, don't get me wrong, it's okay to have those once in a while, but in a day-to-day productivity, in a day-to-day, that concept of exponential of energy, those pockets are probably some of your biggest enemies.
Yeah, dude, that's where I get the most drained.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just established that, you know, you mostly get drained from kind of doing nothing.
100%. Yeah. And it's a dichotomy, right? So we want all this energy, but then all of a sudden we get all this energy, and then you create this somewhat freedom, because energy can create value. You can solve problems. You can show up in ways where you're helping people, and then you unlock this freedom. But no one talks about, like, what do I do with that freedom?
Yeah.
How do I experience that freedom? And that's the hard part. That's the therapy part for me and you, right? So, and I'm still kind of learning that part. And to be completely honest, it's really uncomfortable for me to find those 8-hour pockets, 10-hour pockets, and just feel super happy.
Yeah,
So,
you got to fill them up. You got to think ahead of time here. That's kind of how I do it. I mean, I write notes, so more or less, besides kind of like a regular, you know, wake up, go work out, come back home, you know, um, get kids to school, and then, you know, start my regular work, get on the calls, all that stuff. You know, there are those pockets that I see ahead of time. Like, if I have like 2 hours break, right? I would
mhm,
like literally put something on my calendar, like a self development, right?
something, yeah.
Or I would put like, hey, this is walk plus snack plus stretch,
Hmm.
plus maybe take a call that doesn't have anything to do with
Work.
work, you know, like call your friend or whatever. So
Shoot, I should have done that.
right, pack
Yeah.
this up with some activity that you normally don't actually think about,
Hmm.
you know, because they're not really a part of your work day or something. That you'll be surprised how much more energized you get when you have this like 20-30 minutes of the time, and you call someone you haven't talked, like, you know, in a couple months or weeks, or, you know, even sometimes years, and you just, you know, hear them, and you're like, wow, you know, there's so much going on here, what I'm doing here, like, time to
Yeah.
move, you know.
Right.
So that really kind of energizes you, I believe. I mean, a lot of people have this midday crush, which is more like a technical, I think stuff where you just basically crush after like lunch, you
Oh,
know.
oh, like you get really tired.
Yeah, you get really
Yeah.
tired, and I guess, guys, like, that's just normal, you
Hmm.
know. I mean, your body is, you know, working through that
Hmm.
food consumption,
I
and, you know.
actually take naps now.
Yeah, nap is really great
So,
for
which is
that.
not really like full sleeping. It's
Mm.
like I'm just closing my eyes and like relaxing. It's like
I
a
have kind of a
meditative.
problem with that nap,
Hmm.
because that almost resets me, and then,
You're
like,
really tired.
no, the opposite. That
Oh, yeah, energized.
resets me so much that if I'll take a half an hour nap in the
You're
middle of the
like
day,
jazzed up
then the
again.
whole new day starts again for me,
Oh,
and like,
super interesting.
yeah, I have a hard time of actually coming it down all the way till like way past the bedtime.
Hmm.
So, you know, I'm personally a little conscious with naps. You know, I just structure my sleep that I'm just get right in, like, enough, you know, for me.
Hmm.
And I just try to stay active, like right after the meals, you know, just go for a walk. That would the
Yeah.
recipe like works for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like, just literally finish your last bite, and, you know, shoot your body in the sun outside for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a philosophy around energy, because we're talking about this energy thing. And when you look at like a pond, there's no flow, bacteria kicks in. You can't drink that water.
Hmm.
But then you have like a flowing river, and there's a lot of life outside of it. There's fishes that swim in it. You could even drink the water, right? There's a certain amount of flow. And then there's crazy flows where like the dam is broken and it just kills everything, right?
Hmm.
So I think to find the best place of energy where you're at a flow state and I'm at a flow state, to constantly be able to do these things, is to essentially find that exact flow for you, right? And yeah, like I don't like to sit still. I think things happen in my mind, things that happen in my head, and I just feel I make mistakes when I have 8. That's when I start eating more, and I'm like,
Hmm.
for no reason. I'm watching more Netflix for no reason. I'm watching more TikTok or Instagram for no reason in those blocks. So, like, having an essential flow state can create more life and more energy, right?
I find it extremely valuable to find or discover an excitement
Hmm.
of your next hour. Like, give you give you perception, right? So let's say I know, um, I have a call coming up, you know, really work related, you know, gonna get in nitty gritty, like what's really exciting about it, right?
Yeah.
I find that, hey, in the end of that call, we're gonna come to the decision that will lead to probably some kind of innovative or groundbreaking outcome in the future. So just put that exciting element that you're going to achieve in the end of this small micro activities that you're doing throughout the day, right? Let's say I have to take I get to take my daughter to her gymnastics today, right? Like, and I'm gonna be there for like hour and a half, just kind of, chilling there and watching her. Like, what's the exciting part about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the exciting part about it that I actually gonna probably take my son with me, and I get to play, and I'm gonna kick soccer with him,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna have a really good time, and I'm preparing myself for that. I'm not just like dropping my
Yeah.
daughter to her thing. I'm actually going to be there, kind of use that
Yeah.
space. We're going to kick the ball with my younger son, who, who's only 3. So, but he's excited to do that. I'm excited to do that,
Yeah.
So what's that exciting element of every single thing that you
Yeah.
do? If I'm driving car for 45 minutes, what can be exciting about driving car for
Right.
45 minutes? What would you do?
Right. I don't know. You have to almost prepare yourself with the narrative. I have 45 minutes where I can get to ask him some fun questions for my son, or I could just be bored out of my mind. I think that was like, which leads me to the question, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes parents are making when they are trying to find energy to work out?
I think this just kind of what I said, they don't necessarily think how exciting are the opportunities that
Mm-hmm.
open up for them if they would just make it to the gym and just start working out,
Right.
no matter how tired they are, no matter how harsh the parenting can be.
Mm-hmm.
The payback for you having a healthy body and healthy mindset that is relating from that
Yeah.
healthy body is far more superior than you know the feeling of drained out or feeling of tiredness that you're experiencing right now,
Yeah.
right before you are actually start thinking about skipping that
Mm-hmm.
gym. Also, I mean, it's not for everyone, but my thing is do the hardest thing in the morning,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
um Wherever you can do, if you can
You're a
get
big
that
fan of that.
workout in,
Yeah. Okay.
that is the hardest thing you probably do through an entire day. Get it done first,
Yeah. Is that
right?
the hardest thing for you typically? The workout?
Not I
Yeah.
don't know is
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah. But
because
it used to be.
yeah, probably used to be. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just I mean, generally, it not gonna lie, the way we kind of work out, and doing CrossFit for a while, it is somewhat a toll on the body.
Yeah.
It's challenging workouts. That's why I love it. It's they're never the same. They're always like varied, and you kind of never know what you going into.
Mm-hmm.
In the end of the day, that physically that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
So once that is out of my way, everything looks kind of easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
when you come out of the gym and you've done like a couple hundred pull-ups, couple hundred burpees or whatever,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, that hey, next 8 hours is gonna look like just kind of sitting around, maybe walking a little bit, maybe taking some phone calls, maybe if you were like working wherever in the office or retail, whatever that is, right? It's not really gonna be that. You're not gonna do it at 1,000 RPMs.
Right.
It's just gonna kind of move if you need to, or just talk to people, or respond some of the work stuff. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So once you have that hard thing done first, at least physically, everything else just flows. So my advice to anyone, like if you can't structure it that way, you know, get it early.
Yeah. I
Get it.
think, yeah, you tackle something that's that large gives you more energy too.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm a big fan of that because when it's like, it's equatable in business when I have a hard conversation. Let's just say you had to like let go of someone
Mm.
and then that was the hardest, but then you get this momentum. You're like, oh shoot, I'm gonna go have a conversation with my AT&T and then negotiate a price down. You just start hammering all these mini tasks because you did the hardest thing. And I can relate to that. I wanted to add something on the thinking part because this is where I have a lot of fun dismantling common beliefs. Like for instance, I had a conversation with another parent and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna love it when they stop playing sports. And I was like, I don't like that.
No
Like I don't,
way.
yeah. I was like, you're gonna love it when you don't have to take them to all these places. Like to see these common beliefs. And I think people's energies are being drained because they're being forced down this common belief that because I was drained, you're gonna be drained too. Right. And I just refuse to believe that. And this is why it's really fun to hang out with people that believe the opposite. Right. So you almost have to prepare yourself to become energized. And it's all happening in the thoughts. An example is I was reading a book. It's like or five wealth something, 5 times the wealth, whatever it is. Anyways, one of the premises was your kids are going to be spending the most time with you until they're about like 15 and 18. And then by that time, it's 0 to 1 hours. So for 18 years, right? Maybe even 10 years, to be honest, because they don't want to hang out with you in teenage years. So you have 10 years of a window where you're spending the most time with them. And just realizing that you have such a finite amount of time, and like how you show up in those 10 years is so critical. By the time they're in college, they're not going to come see you, right?
Yeah,
Maybe they might.
it's a sort of a paradox of life that, for about 15 years we're trying to spend so much time with the people who are intending to leave us,
Right.
and that's referring to the kids. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he said. Like you got probably, I say less than that. I don't think in a modern pace age,
Yeah.
kids will kind of stick around with their moms and dads for more than maybe like 10 12 years,
Yeah.
maybe not even 15. But yeah, you're right. Like first again, for me, it's always a shift in mentality. I never say I have to take you there. I
Yeah.
never say I have to, go to the park with you. It's always like that have to into get to, right? You remember that concept?
Yeah.
You get to, be with your kids and do whatever, because not everyone has that fortune. So, you, again, what you said, you have up until they're like in their early teens, to, enjoy some of these activities, because they're never going to be the same again, and,
Mhm.
they're going to leave and they're going to move on and they're going to find their own path. So, that whole concept of like, wait till you don't have to, take them anywhere. I say like that's wrong fundamentally.
Mhm.
I just never look at it that way.
It's so good. Guys, I'm going to share a quote really quick that I say to myself. And if you guys want to write this down, like, especially I'll go into these events just like you, where I'm just drained. I'm like, I just want to sleep. I don't want to take him to a next sporting event, do all of these things. And here's the quote. It says, no matter how many times you do something, there will come a day when you do it for the last time. And it was a quote from Sam Harris, right? So every time I hear that, I'm like, this is the last time he'll play soccer, right? This is the last time he'll learn this movement. Or I even equate this to my own body. This is the last time I could actually work out really hard and then still be able to have energy to drive him and then still I'll be able to play with them. There'll be a moment then maybe that I can't play with him anymore, right? We don't have control over that. We have control of our own health, but shoot, I can get in a car accident, like things can happen. Like my legs can be amputated and all I can use is my arms. So when I position my thoughts around this could be the last time, it sounds doom and gloomy, but it actually energizes me because now I'm present and I'm like, I'm not going to experience this again. Do you know what I mean? Right? And it's fascinating how your thoughts can really shift the experience that you're having at the event. Right?
Also, what we discussed early is that, our kids will kind of have no interest of dealing with you or doing anything with you when they kind of have ability to go their own way. One of the reasons for that is actually you.
Yeah.
When your kids are 15, 16, whatever they are, you're in your probably 40s and some people on 50s, right? So that's when, for a lot of people, this sort of like fitness routines and being in shape and that kind of mentality of exponential energy really starts shifting in the directions where I'm getting a little older.
Yeah.
I need to watch out. I need to be conscious, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is, right thing to do, to the degree, right? But
Right.
when that starts dominating, right? When that kind of mentality comes in your head, and that could be the one of those reasons why, like, your kids won't want to play soccer with you anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was ask a question, like, Igor, you're like, I don't know, you slept like 7 hours, you on the road,
Mm-hmm.
you worked out today, and then in the morning when I saw you, and then like you were kind of back at gym at like
You did like a
7 p.m. Like, why the hell you do that, right? And so I'm like thinking about, it's like, why really I do that? And I have one answer to that. I actually want to prolong
yeah.
that ability to be able to keep up with my kids
Yeah.
as long as I can.
Yeah.
Obviously now they're young, and they're just too little to
Mm-hmm.
to do even near what I can do. But when they will be 15,
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably be somewhere where we kind of match, right? And then
Yeah.
there will always be a time when they will surpass,
They surpass you.
their
Their fitness
ability, right? Like in
and their
their
endurance.
fitness and the endurance and all that stuff. So it's always a question: when
Mm-hmm.
is that going to happen? Is that going to happen when I'm going to be 45, or when I'm going to be 50, or when I'm going to be 65?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say to myself, well, I want that moment to
Mm-hmm.
come as late as possible,
Yeah.
not because of them, but because of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let them gain all that physical ability, but
Yeah.
let me keep my physical ability up until, I don't know, I hope I get 90.
Yeah. That's the ironic part of it. Like, we want to be able to keep up with them at the very end, but the truth is we want to get as far away from them in terms of fitness and health that they're trying to keep up with you. Because the inevitable is they'll meet up with you, right? And I think a lot of times parents wait till they're graduated and then they'll put their health back on. Which I'm saying that's fine, strategy. If you're intentional about that, cool. But there is an alternate way where you can have life, have a successful career, have a successful relationship, and still have this health that is super optimal, right? We don't have to do just as crazy things like we do. You can have you can do pull ups, push ups, squats. It doesn't have to be crazy. And I think it requires, what's scary is it requires very little effort to get there. And people think it's much larger than what it is.
Yeah, I mean, with as much as I travel, I say I can be very effective in the gym
Yeah,
within like 30 to 40 minutes of my time.
exactly. Yeah.
Everyone, I almost guarantee everyone has
Mm-hmm.
half an hour in the morning, right?
Yeah.
It's a matter of, like, again, just thinking about, like, don't think that you don't have energy for this. You do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might doubt first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you doubt, but you do it, you are expanding your energy. It will happen. You won't doubt after a
Mm-hmm.
while, right? You'll just go.
Right.
You open your eyes, your alarm will buzz off, you'll take the blanket off, you'll dress up, and you'll start moving.
So good. Yeah. So the next question. Do you have a framework to still get energy when you're burnt out? Or have you ever been burnt out? I don't even know if you have.
I think burnout is more of a mental thing rather
Mm-hmm.
than physical, right? So if it goes back to the question, what's more important, like physical health or mental health,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They're both important, but I think there's no mental health without physical health.
Right. They both combine for you. Okay.
Correct. So the burnout to me is more on the mental side rather than the physical side.
I agree with that
If
one.
you think about what the burnout on the physical side looks like, yeah, it can be like sore, right? You can
Yeah.
be, just you have a muscle fatigue, all that stuff. These are elements that normally can be either easily treated,
Mm-hmm.
by proper stretching, etc., or you can just do something else in the gym that maybe not involving the places where you're super sore and stuff like. So it's almost like an excuse to say that, hey, I'm burned out, doing like burpees, so I'm not gonna work out
Right.
because, hey,
You're pointing at the wrong thing, right?
correct.
Yeah.
You're not burned out, of working out. You burn out from doing one certain things that targets certain parts of your
Yeah.
body, so you can still come and do, a rower,
Yeah.
whatever that is, right?
Okay.
So it's more a mental side, as I said. So yes, I think the burnout mentally is a real thing.
Yeah.
But again, I don't believe that you can be burned out by the whole ecosystem of
Yeah.
things that are going on in your life,
Yeah.
right? So if you burn out, most likely you burn out from work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So guess what? You can still make it to the
Yeah.
gym. The work really doesn't affect it.
Yeah.
You can still go out and play with your kids. You can't
Mhm.
show me one person who is burned out by playing with their kids.
Exactly.
Doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? Are you burned out from just the pace that you having? You just cannot keep up. Well, you burn out from your own time mismanagement,
Mhm.
right? So what can you do to fix that?
Mhm.
So I think just looking at the microscopic level and identifying what is that triggering you in terms
Yeah.
of burnout, and really be honest to yourself, like the burnout is more mental than physical, and you can still go do workout even when you burned out.
I 100% agree with that. And like there was a theory. It's like a philosophy. It's like the Christmas morning, right? You see all your kids, they're staying up till like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then they wake up at like 5 a.m. full of energy, 2 or 3 hours of sleep. One of the biggest problems where people, at least for me and some of my clients, of those that are feeling burnt out, is because they're waking up to something that they don't want to open, the gift. So the gift is the problem, right? So it's like it could be in terms of your business, right? It could be in the terms of like parts of your work. You're like, maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Like I don't want to wake up answering emails. I don't want to wake up doing this, but I do want to wake up having one-on-one coaching sessions with my people. So like being able to identify which parts of work are completely draining you is like the first step. Just go to your calendar and then just see everything that you're doing and then like color code it red. And then the things that are energizing you, color code it green, right? And then just observe that. I think 80% of your healing is just from that. And then the second step is like, how many of these greens can I do more of? And then how many of these reds can I do less of? And then if you can fix some of those things at work, this can also be in your relationships too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your kids shouldn't play 3 or 4 sports in one season, right? Maybe it's just 2, right? Or you're like, man, I get energized when he plays soccer, but not when he's going into these 2 other things. Like I get drained for some reason, right? Maybe I should cut one of those things down. So just being able to observe that will give you enough energy to do way more. And I think you do a good job doing that. And I think if we were to look at your calendar and I was like, Igor, show me all of your greens, I'd probably arguably say that 80% of them are fair to green. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Listen, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're just frustrated because you just can't seem to see any results, we would love to help you out. Now, we've been helping thousands of our athletes over the course of a decade by crafting personalized programs that are not only sustainable, but also effective. Now, if you're ready to transform your health, click on the show notes below, book a call with one of our coaches. We'd love to help you out. Now back to the show. Peace.
I'll give you something too. Like recently, I used to panic when I would get. I'm an inbox freak. Like if there's more than like let's say 10 unread emails in my inbox at any given time, I freak out. Like I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in such a weeds. So I basically do it on the side as I go, throughout the day and stuff. But when you wake up in the morning, especially I work with the folks who are in the central time zones, the east time zones, and overseas sometimes even. So when you wake up, if it's 6 a.m. our time here in Vegas, and I already know that inbox is spilling,
Exactly.
But it doesn't make me feel panic anymore. Because
why is that?
I start treating it differently. I start looking at in the work stuff like emails that, hey, there's someone somewhere who really needs my word on something, right?
Yeah.
Just the fact that someone needs me to look and cannot keep going without me, taking care of, certain things, it's actually a good feeling to have,
Yeah.
right? So even those emails that kind of seem to be like a lot of work, and they seem to be more like a delegation that, oh man, I now have to do this and I
Yeah.
have to do that, I'm still excited about them because, it makes me feel important,
Yeah. Mhm.
if I was getting no emails,
You're
and I like,
this just
I'm like,
sucks.
why? What's
Yeah.
going on, right?
Right.
Like, that is way worse feeling than
Mhm.
having, a reasonable or a lot of even emails. So I start seeing it that way. So when I get like some work stuff that comes through, and I'm like, I'm excited to open that inbox a little bit. I mean, not, don't get me wrong, like, it's I mean, 80-90% emails are just FYIs,
Yeah.
right? Like, you kind of read through, but the ones that are really leaning towards actionable items that you need to do, like, I'm excited about them because, like, people trust me, people delegate things to me because I'm probably good at that,
So good.
So,
Yeah.
think about it that way, and that could be anything. That's why, if you look at the calendar, I treat it almost all green,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mine is almost all green as well. Yeah.
I don't put, like, taking the trash out, on the trash days on my calendar. I do, but so I don't forget about it. Like, I don't consider that super green, but what
It's
I'm
like on the
saying.
yellow.
Yeah,
right?
it's on a
It's a
yellow.
yellow.
It's
It's a
like
yellow
neutral. Yeah, it's like neutral. It's
Yeah.
just like, there's nothing you can do with it,
Right.
So, but most of it is just kind of like great,
Yeah. All right. So 2 things I wanted to add on this. Because I think people with unlimited energy have ways. I call them like little KPIs that's indicating that they're about to burn out. And in your case, when you're like, I'm excited to look at these emails, that means your burnout level is good. But then when you're like, I don't want to see this, that means you almost have to like address, all right, what am I going wrong here? Because normally I'm happy about it. So that's one thing. The way I take my KPIs, if I know I'm burning out, is I'm judgmental around people. Or I'm not even showing that, but in my mind I am, right? My natural state is curiosity, and I'm just like constantly asking questions. That's when I know when I'm a good place. So one of the indications, especially if you're burning out and you're like, have those KPIs for yourself. Like when I'm burnt out, I'm very judgmental, but when I'm not burnt out, I'm very curious. In your case, when I'm burnt out, I hate looking at those emails, but when I'm in a good place, I'm kind of excited about it. That's one element. I want the audience to understand that because it's a really, really cool thing that you do. The second thing is I had a conversation with one of our coaches, and we'll have coaches that are doing good, and some of them they're having a hard time. And the question that we had was burden, right? Which equates to, I think, burnout in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm. And we both do fitness. And let me ask you this. If I put 225 pounds on that back squat and you did set of 10, what would happen?
Are you asking, like,
just for you in general,
realistically how I feel about set of 10 at 225?
225.
I'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
That kind of hits like in the middle. So
yeah,
for me, it's reasonable.
Now let's put another 25, 265 for 10.
I mean, let's go for 10. That'll be a little more challenging, but I think I can do it. Yeah.
Let's put 315 for 10.
Well, that's a little bit no-go, and in this at this age and state, but I'll do my best to attempt it. So,
yeah.
And
then 405.
Well, that's a trick. I don't know how you want me to answer that, but that might come off the clips, like, but then it will go back.
Yeah, it will go back down.
It will go back, yes.
Or you'll get trampled by it, right? Okay, so that's one extreme.
Right.
Now let's say we go down to 135 for 10.
Yeah, I mean that'll be just I don't think you will feel any weight.
Right.
In that point. Yeah. After 405, or whatever that was. Yeah.
It's a nice warm up. Yeah. Let's just say you did the bar for 10.
Again, I mean, it's even further.
Yeah.
There's no weight.
Let's just say we removed
all the air squats.
Let's just say removed. Yeah, go to all. Yeah. Let's just say you're only doing 3 sets of 10 air squats. How would you feel about that? That was your workout.
Yeah.
Do you see it? So I hope you see kind of where I'm going here. Like, there's a level of burden that's going to allow you to thrive in life. And there's a level of burden that is too dangerous for you to hold on to. Right. And then there's also the 3 sets of 10 burden, which you just be like, this is pointless. Why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
So just like your analogy of like, I love it when someone actually needs me. That is burden. That's good burden. And I think a lot of times people don't know how to remove those plates. And we just gave them some tactics of like, label the reds, make sure you work out when you're exhausted, right? Those are some ways to remove the plates. But completely saying that they want all their problems solved is a big curse. And you will feel miserable and you will not grow. In fact, I would argue that you would probably die faster when you don't have that burden. And we see this in fitness. People that don't lift weights at all don't live longer. Like people that are constantly lifting 600, 700 pounds don't necessarily live longer either. It's the ones that are like in the middle. Right?
Yeah. It's almost the same kind of concept that we apply to just our way of doing fitness. You know, we're not like super great in anything. Like we don't take those extreme loads, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also don't do anything poorly, right?
Mhm.
So we don't necessarily always training, 500 air squats every training session, right? So we really take that mid-level plus burden that
Mhm.
lets us do easy things really easy
Yeah.
and be able also to once in a while pick at those hard burdens,
Yeah.
right? And be a little bit more comfortable when our burden comes a little bit closer to those
Right.
heavy zones, right? So that's sort of like why I like the concept of CrossFit so much, because it's really life transferable, right? It's really transferable in that conversation of energy that we had earlier. It's like more you expand, more you peek in those areas that you never looked before, the closer
Yeah.
you'll be getting there, right? You don't have to jump all the way in right away. That's no
100%.
good.
Yeah.
Also, you don't want to be a potato couch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that right?
Couch potato.
Couch potato, yes.
And the Russian way to say it is potato couch. You flip-flop it.
I know I was close.
Yeah, this is why I'm a huge fan of fitness in general, because unconsciously it's happening in other parts of your life. It's happening on your email box. And it could also happen in vice versa. You excel really well in business and then you apply those same principles into your fitness and the magical things just start happening, right? It's very special when you're aware and you're intentional. That's when the magic starts, right? When you're like, my body feels good. I'm pushing 89, 90% today, right? My body kind of feels weird. I got to pull back to about 70. Right. And it's the same thing in your life. Like my stress is in business. I'm at like 90%. Maybe I got to pull back a little bit. Right. Or I'm like, I'm feeling fresh. Let's go into life at 90% for a season. That's when it becomes very special, because now you're so in tune with your energy. And when you're intentional about like deloading and max loading, you can stretch that parking lot we were talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So, man, I didn't know we were going to go this deep on this. This is a fun conversation. So I want to end it on this question because we can go for like 15 hours. If we really wanted to. I love talking to you.
Yeah, let's cover this green for the next 15 and just kick it up. No, this is exciting. I mean, just talking about it like gives me more energy, quite frankly. Like I'm gonna leave this studio and like keep going with my day with that like really great sense of like, hey, I just talked to Royce.
Yeah,
he's an amazing guy who energizes me. I really never had a chance to like actually sit down and have like a more or less like long, lengthy and proper conversation with you. I'm like thriving, just by doing that, and that's like, I didn't really plan on that, or, it's just happening because, there's really sense in the air of being intentional, looking at what's coming, using the opportunities that life is giving to you to just really expand those energy level if you think about that ahead of time.
So
right?
Good. Yeah.
If you just, again, as I said before we started this, if you are like on this boat and it's a river and just the boat carries you, you'll make it to a destination, right?
Right.
But like how exciting it to take a paddle and start paddling through it, you know,
Yeah.
like how much more distance you can cover
Right.
within the same amount of time, you know, and more faster you'll be able to paddle. The bigger the distance, the longer the distance is, right?
Yeah.
The more experiences you're gonna get, and you just keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. You will have more and more energy all the time, you know, and just that's like really foundational aspect of life of just, you know, don't let that river carry you, you
So
know.
good.
Yeah, let like flow on it, you know,
Yeah.
with intention, with effort.
I like it. All right. I ask this question for every guest. What is one question that completely has changed your life? Or maybe just a recent one.
What's your why?
Mm.
I mean, that's always been one for me. The when you clearly don't understand
Mm-hmm.
the reasoning of things, the reasoning of actions, the reasoning of words, don't do it.
So good. Guys, if you guys like this episode, you'll probably like this episode up here because YouTube knows what you like. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.